Baocheng, I will start with you. The president touched upon many aspects of 2025. So what's your impression, what's your take of the speech? And of course, what's your impression of 2025 for China?
I think it's a remarkable year that is marked by high quality resilience. And that actually reminds me of the poem from Liu Baocheng, the famous poet in the Tang Dynasty, that when all the monkeys are screaming along the riverbanks, the boat has already navigated far away. So
nice line.
So yes, there has been.
Sounds better in Chinese.
Yes.
Right. There has been a lot more headwinds on a global basis, and so much turbulence that is going on in terms of the geopolitical confrontation, in terms of the threat of punitive sanctions and also restriction of high-tech exports. And domestically, we also have experienced a lot more pressure, the lackluster performance of some of the local governments in their debt, and also the real estate, etc. But we managed to achieve our goal of 5% growth, which is really twice as much as the global average. And also our export, despite all the pressures, has really made a remarkable achievement in the trade surplus, although that's not really what we intended. We really wanted to bring more equilibrium in import and export with our major trading partners. And also our outbound, the investment has also exceeded more than 6%. And that also means that we are making a lot more efforts to cultivate the global marketplace by localization, and also that there have been a number of the laws and policies that have been introduced to stimulate the economy, to boost the high quality growth, particularly towards the digitization and also the green transformation. So therefore, this is really a time that we can really celebrate the hard-earned resilience what we have so far achieved.
Yeah, resilience and vitality, and you agree it's remarkable year, extraordinary. The president said that China, in terms of economy, in terms of defense, in terms of the national strength, in terms of science, of course, high tech, these sectors all reached new heights.
Yeah, I mean, what I did in preparation for this speech was look over the speeches of the past. I mean, you and I and Liu Baocheng have been talking about this. We've appeared numerous times at these New Year's speeches. Now, think 5 years ago, Xi Jinping mentioned over the last 5 years, and that was during COVID period. And then immediately coming out, it was all about, it was a very somber, very short New Year's message. It was saying, look, we have to continue hard work to continue the rejuvenation of this thing. And then over the couple last years, it has been about, trying to make sure that China is in the right direction. But this year is different. It's not only that China, was beset by a lot of aggravation coming from the United States, a lot of global conflicts and things like this. It's the fact that China continued to push for a new global system based on values, not ideology. So you talk about the Global Governance Initiative. That's really what impressed me here. A lot of people are saying, well, I don't know what that means. But it means you use talks instead of tanks. That based on countries being secure, having a development path that they decide themselves, being sovereign, respected, and understood, and then having a system for when conflicts do come up, where you can actually get them. So in the middle of what would have, a massive trade war when both sides were at 145%,
beginning of the year, yeah.
China continued. They just said, okay, we have a measured plan. This is something that we think is important. If you're going to have a multipolar world, you have to have a basis for it. Otherwise, you have just pure confusion. So what was remarkable is that China continued to push ahead on these things, and not only leading by preaching, but by practice. Last year alone, the amount of money put into the Belt and Road Initiative exceeded the years before. It's already over $1.3 trillion over the last 12 years. So China has a track record that is, of course, very, very influential with the 85% of the rest of the world, which is now looking for, I think, now keep in mind, and I'm putting this in a kind of background things, but if you take the G7 right now, they are lagging the world in terms of GDP. At one time, they used to tell people, we are entitled to tell you what to do because we grow quickly, we're economically sophisticated, and we know more than you. But now that has changed. Not the same. So,
speak of that. Both of you mentioned about these challenges at the beginning of the year. Tariffs, tech restrictions, etc., and of course, chaos, uncertainty around the world. The president mentioned about this. The number of the economy of 2025 that will reach 140 trillion RMB, roughly $20 trillion US, with a growth rate of about 5%. That's hard won in a year of uncertainty, instability. Maintain the strong growth itself is something.
Yeah, well, if you go back and you start looking at all the, whether it's World Bank or IMF or everything, they all say, oh, no, it'll be 4.5, maybe lower. And then you had the people who saying, this is the year China collapses and all this kind of things. So, you've had those all along. But China has been very consistent in achieving what it says. And this is something which the world notices, because there's a lot of countries who talk, but nothing is achieved. And China has been showing, leading by example, not only internationally, but also domestically.
Yeah, talk the talk, also walk the walk. Baocheng, of course, one of the key phrases, I would say, in terms of Chinese national development is high quality growth. And if you look at the tech sector in particular, that's impressive, right? Tech. Surprising development, innovation in terms of AI, humanoid, drones, etc. What do you make of these breakthroughs in those areas?
I think one is the market-driven, because it is most of the inventions took place within the private sector. And as a matter of fact, I do not really see a lot more SOEs are really creating that type of savvy technologies. And so the other is that China has so many, first of all, supportive forces in terms of engineering, in terms of the pilot operation. And then, based on that, we have a number of genius and wizard that are able to be highly creative, and they are not only quick learners as before, but now they are really innovators in the front line of global inventions. And now the government, of course, is also deserving a lot more credit by providing subsidies, by providing the low-cost operational facilities, and also giving them more of the flexible policies to implement and operate such sort of operation. And so, and also that you will notice that the Chinese all the industrial structure are also in the process of upgradation, so that they can really get best fitted in. For example, when China is producing a lot more e-cars, so therefore the information system is there to step up. And also when there are more of the live streaming are needed by the young people for entrepreneurship and also for entertainment, and also providing more of the high quality service sector. And then, so the innovation is there. Now I really appreciate DeepSeek, who can really, I should say, in terms of translation, they are doing even better than Chat. And now there is also continuous improvement. So I think the another key area is that we can quickly turn those technologies into amplification for the commercial capacity. So that's something that we are able to build our unique competitive advantage against some of the smaller markets.
Right, and of course, in addition to that, it's a comprehensive development. If you look at, for example, defense technology, this electromagnetic aircraft launch system, China basically put into operation. And if you look at the efforts in hydropower project, the largest one in the world, in Yaluzang River, and that's impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, China continues to move ahead. I mean, but as Professor Liu Baocheng pointed out, DeepSeek, very, very important, because what happened was the U.S. was going on this model that we don't share technology. We're going to create this entity and we're going to own it. And then you have to rent it from us at a very high price. Mm-hmm. And the valuations were, in the trillions of dollars for these companies who hadn't really done much. But then China came along with DeepSeek, and they said, no, there's no point in doing that. We're going to have a library. Everyone can come in for free. They can use the code
open
like
sourced.
A book, open source. And this has transformed everything. First off, it undermined the valuations of these companies, especially in Silicon Valley, that thought that they possessed the gold and everyone would have to come to them. But more importantly, it has supercharged the third world. They would never have had access to Silicon Valley's where they was just been kept away from it. Too expensive. But now you see a development happening in Africa, South America, Southeast Asia, everywhere. And it's because of DeepSeek. But this goes to this issue about China's willingness to share technology, for a better future for everybody, not just a few oligarchs in Silicon Valley. So those types of things are really what you have to pay attention to. The next phase, China has identified that they want to make fusion power, all right, commercially viable. Mm-hmm. I don't, right now I don't think people understand what that would mean. It would mean limitless, very, very low cost power. With power, you can grow vegetables hydroponically. You can take water out of the air. You can do so many things that could solve it. So This is a continuation of things. It's not just a set of accomplishments.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the same time, you do see the development in the soft sector, let's say. I call it the soft sector, in the cultural sector, for example, Nejia or Wukong, black myth Wukong. The two characters from the Chinese mythology, but they gained fame because of the game, because of the animated movie. So that also probably says something about the market force, maybe, or the creativity or innovation of the young Chinese directors, designers.
Yeah, I think the first taking advantage of the information technologies and also to be able to proliferate into the sphere of digitization, and without the support of 4G, 5G, and hopefully 6G, it is impossible for them even to create and also to distribute. So therefore, the infrastructure on a digital basis is really the foundation for them to create and also to distribute. The other is that there has been shifting paradigm in terms of preference, particularly by the younger generation. Mm-hmm. And also, if you look at what we call the silver-haired generation, they are also highly interested. We also have 3 million of these people, and they are retired, and they are still, very robust in engaging with the new developments. And now it's not only there to serve the creative or entertainment purpose, but they also are there to insert into more of the creative work, for example, building cartoons, and also to help some of the writing process, and also by creating more of the scripts. So there's a whole lot of work that can be done. And more importantly, if we look at some of the libraries, previously the hard copies now are being completely digitized. It's a tremendous amount of work, but it's really friendly. So now libraries, like in my university, are turning out to be more of the gateways to research instead of a warehouse of all those books. So this is really highly transformative for people's learning habit and also for people's living habitat even.
Right, of course, these are from the traditional Chinese culture, which is a rich source for recreation, let's say. And earlier you mentioned about GGI, Global Governance Initiative, put forward by the Chinese leader in this SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin. And of course, 2025 also marks this 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War for resistance against Japanese aggression. And also, China's legislature, the Standing Committee of National People's Congress, designated a commemoration day of Taiwan's retrocession. Makes sense for that, for us, 80th anniversary. Of course, it's also the World Anti-Fascist War 80th anniversary. And Taiwan's retrocession, and we had global order, post-World War II global order. You mentioned, global governance. Well, there's a lack of global governance in a sense right now.
Well, yeah, the United States has chosen the law of the jungle. They're saying that they're going to take Canada, they're going to take Greenland, they're going to take Panama Canal, Gaza. I mean,
Venezuela.
They're going to take Venezuela. So. That's the law of the jungle. This is a return to imperial past. This is when you had emperors and kings, and they would just run around saying, I want more land. I want to control more. China has taken the opposite tact. They're saying, look, we need to have law and order. We need to have justice. We need to have values based on security, development, all the things that it's talking about. Now, how do you put that together? And how does this thing? Now, right now, in the international community, they say, China is threatening Taiwan. No. Taiwan is part of China.
It's the one China principle.
And it's not a principle that applies to China. It was accepted by the UN, and there are 3 communiques signed between the US and China. Yeah. There's no ambiguity about this. The ambiguity was put into the equation simply because the US wanted a card to play against China's development. And that's simply what it amounts to. So China is trying to stand up for them. I mean, the SCO stands for secession, anti-division, anti-terrorism, all of these things. And it's about safeguarding countries the way they are. And this is extremely important that people understand this. The world is not perfect. Most countries were drawn up by accident of DNA, somebody conquered it, or by cynical colonial powers who put minorities in charge of majorities in order to maintain their ability to influence things. But you can't unravel it. So the only thing you can do going forward is to accept countries the way they are, all right, understand them, have them understand you, and go forward. But that means that you have to protect their borders. Taiwan is part of China. It was taken away by the Japanese in this imperialist war. I mean, people have no idea. 35 million Chinese perished. There was 100 million total casualties because of World War II. China suffered 35% of them. Russia was 17% of them. Right? But you would think that all the sacrifices were made in Europe and Germany and America and places like that. They weren't. Right? Over 50% were here.
Right.
On this side. So the reason I mention this is that it is time to right what was wronged. All right? Taiwan only exists because the U.S. 7th Fleet sailed in to prevent China from finishing off a corrupt, losing civil war in terms of who had retreated to Taiwan and taken the KMT, and they'd taken the loot with them. They literally looted the imperial city and ran off with the gold, and the U.S. protected them. So this idea that there is any legitimacy out there, for instance, Japan saying that they would get involved. They were the problem. They were the ones who took it over. For them to come back, I mean, the irony, the hypocrisy, why isn't this pointed out by the international press?
Right, that's why China stresses this, maintaining the global order.
But it's not only, but the global order not only applies to China, it also applies to every other country, and they're trying to lead by example. We will protect our own the same way we will advocate for the protection of yours, just as they do in the SCO.
Territorial integrity, yes, yes. And speak of course, this relationship with the outside world, Baocheng, China also, in the latter half of this year, not long ago, of course, this Hainan Free Trade Port has a big move in terms of institutional reform and opening up. What does it mean to China? What does it mean to Hainan and the world, let's say?
Well, China has really walked through a very clear footprints in terms of the gradual but committed opening process. From the special economic zone to open ports, industrial zones, high-tech zones, free trade zones. Now Hainan is really a decisive move. Hainan is 60 times bigger than Singapore. So with the entire province that are almost operating on the free tariff basis. So this is really a great news, not only for the Chinese people, but also for the whole world. And I think another very important issue is that it is also the Chinese successful experience in experimenting certain policies with more liberalized the operations, and when they are really successful, they can be there quickly to be diffused and disseminated across the entire China. For example, in terms of the free flow of data, in terms of the almost the total elimination of the negative list, and also with more of the innovation in terms of the governance, and also in the streamlining of the custom procedures. So this is going to be a big operation. And now, what is expected is that it's not really the government policy how much we can really support. It is really up to Hainan as how they can really build the right type of business environment to attract the global attention, investment, and also more importantly the high-tech cluster that can be there to create more value.
Well, on domestic front, Baocheng, the president mentioned about, for example, the elderly-friendly modification and also the child care subsidy program, 300 yuan per month. Not a big subsidy, but already a big step compared to the practice in the past. What does it say about the philosophy of Chinese, governance in terms of improving or enhancing people's sense of having a good life, basically?
Yeah, when we talk about the high quality growth or the new productive forces, so people are really the ends. So therefore, however you grow your economy, if people do not have the sense of aspiration of a better life, then the policy would be questionable. I think all these efforts are there to first change to improve and optimize the Chinese growth structure by supporting the consumption sector as a even stronger driver for Chinese growth. The other is that people will need to have the sense of entitlement and also to be relieved of the worries, for child care and also for the elderly care. And so this is really the most tangible benefits that people can receive, and hopefully that can really also stimulate the Chinese consumption, because China still enjoys more than 30% of the savings rate. So therefore, it may help to alleviate some of the worries, and that so consumers will be more courageous in spending their savings, and so that's in the end contribute to the Chinese growth structure.
Yes, speak of that, I think, looking at the 2026 and the beginning year of the 15th five-year plan, I think recently there's very important documents basically prioritizing building a robust domestic market, increased domestic consumption. That's number one priority, obviously, and that's very clear. Mm-hmm. So what do you look at the prospect of 2026 in terms of the economy, overall development of China?
Well, the emphasis will still be on trying to develop a robust consumption market. It's everything that Liu Baocheng has talked about in terms of instilling confidence. There are different ways to do that. If you know that there's going to be a pension at the end of it, at the end of your work days, that helps you make decisions about how much you're going to spend. If you don't have a pension, you have to save every penny you have. So they're trying to create more certainty that leads to more confidence, that will lead to more consumption. And it's not about spending the way the United States does in terms of going into debt. It's about unleashing a lot of value that is currently there that is not being utilized, putting it into the real economy. And that creates jobs, opportunities. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of new drivers. I personally believe that small and medium-sized businesses, because they have the digital tools to send things outside of China or from outside of China into China, they can advertise among groups and social media, and they can get paid through these different platforms that are both in China and around the world. And I think this is a really large part of it. But I think China can also lead by example. Xi Jinping put in there quite clearly that he's going to hold the party to a very strict standard, right? Yeah. And that human life, all right, is what everything is about. It's not about economics for economics. It's about helping people.
Right. Well, Baocheng, less than 1 minute. A lot to be expected in 2026.
Yes, I'm very optimistic about the Chinese continued drive for reform and also further opening. And I think one key is really to unify the Chinese domestic marketplace that can really substantially reducing the cost of doing business. And also the other is that we continue to welcome more of foreign investment, particularly in the high-tech area. And now with Hainan, getting sealed as a unified custom, the territory, so that's going to be highly attractive. And then, as also an educator, I hope that more of the education can be enhanced in both research and also in practical skills, so that people can really grow their quality of skill sets to boost the productive forces.
Well, with the assistance of AI. Well, on that, we come to the end of today's show. Many thanks to our guests. You can also watch us on the CGTN app on YouTube. Thanks for being with us. I'm Xu Qingduo. See you next time.